General merchandise stores were common in the 1800s and early 1900s. Some of the earliest stores were located in Rockville. Others sprang up around railroad stations, and still others were found in crossroads communities like this one on Woodfield Road just outside of Damascus. The Woodfield Country Store was built in two stages. The center section dates back to 1890. The additions on either side were completed in 1910, providing living space for the shopkeeper's family. Today, the store is owned by Mike and Deanie McGrady.
The store was in terrible shape until we came in 5 or 6 years ago, and we started to rehab the store. And we feel we have an obligation to maintain its importance in the community, and whatever historical significance there is, we want to keep that. We got a lot of help from the county, and we're convinced that without that kind of help, stores like ours would not be able to renew themselves and continue to be a part of the community.
Like Poole's store, Woodfield was and continues to be a gathering place.
Thank you very much.
In Woodfield, there are only two buildings that serve those needs, the store and the church. Even today, we have community members gathering here. We don't have meeting rooms, but if you watch them on a Sunday morning or when folks go to work and come home in the evening, see lots of groups of people in the parking lot and in the stores. They're talking about their lives in the community and what's going on at the school and in the high school.
Stores like this were scattered all over Montgomery County. Holland's store, still operating today as the Red Door Store, sits at the corner of Lay Hill and Norwood Roads. Notice the two wings of this building. One was the store, the other was the living quarters. Perry's store, located at the intersection of River Road and Falls Road, dates back to 1880. Built by Thomas E. Perry, it served as a general store, a post office, and a residence. In 1986, the building was moved when the intersection was widened. Today, Chevy Chase Bank uses it for office space. Darby's store in Bellsville was not so lucky. Built in 1910, it is another good example of the general stores of that era. Unfortunately, today it stands vacant and at risk of being lost. The Bethesda Community Store was built in 1924. At that time, shopkeepers were no longer living in the same building. This explains why it is smaller than the earlier stores. Mike Henderson and his family have been operating this store since 1984.
Well, it was more of my father's idea. When he moved here from West Virginia, he came in here and liked the place, and it was always inquiring when the former owner was ready to leave, he'd like to take over. So in 1984, when they were retiring, he bought the business. I guess it had some sort of a charm to it that my father was attached to. I mean, other than that, then, you know, once you get here a while and you meet all the nice people, you kind of get, you know, drawn into the atmosphere.
Mike's father bought the business from Ernie Caudill, who had owned the store since 1945. Bethesda was very different back then.
We had a customer that came in one day. She called her husband and said, "I'm way out here in the country." Of course, NIH wasn't there when we started this. They had 3 little buildings over on the front, and all that's been built. Hospital was barracks when we came here.
Today, the Bethesda Community Store does an active lunch business, serving people from all ends of the spectrum. It also draws people who are just intrigued.
There are a few things left from the old Bethesda, but most of the stuff now is, you know, new, made of concrete and whatnot. I think in any suburban area, most stuff now is, you know, of concrete and metal, and when you can find something that's actually made of wood, people like strolling through there just to see what's going on and if it's still the same as it was. I mean, there are a lot of people that have moved and come floating back through town and see the little building and stop, that are curious.